Yeah, by the way, this is the Great Quran. That is the hardcover book for those who have the PDF. For those who have the PDF, right? Most of you do have it, right? Aha. So this is the hardcover version with the ISBN number, the Great Quran, the hardcover. That's it. About 1,000 pages book. I recommend this for every advanced or beginner who is trying to understand the Quran word for word. I will recommend this, highly recommend this for you, right? Aha. If you want to know more about the Great Quran, just write, if for anybody who has access to Chat GPT, right? The AI, just write to him or it. Just write the Great Quran 2021 edition. Just ask it any question regarding the Quran and see what the feedback you get from the AI, right? I will highly recommend this for every novice, beginner, advanced, knowledgeable person who wants to access the Quran word for word and get a better assessment and reading to understand the words in Arabic, right? So the page is down there below. You see it's down there. It's payhip.com/natsal enterprise, right? And again, we have this is the refer to the Quran book. This is the part 1, volume 1, because the volume 2 will be out very soon. This is a comprehensible tool which helps you to actually access the Quran. It has diversified topics which are made easy for you to access the Quran, so that you can understand the Quran in a more better form. This is not the book that takes you out of the Quran, but to lead you back to the Quran where you can understand every topic in advanced level, right? So that is refer to the Quran. You can get it also similarly on the web page. You see it below, Natsal Enterprise, payhip.com/Natsal Enterprise, right? So for those who want to access it, you can, if you have my correctional officer number, I put it below the page. That is my correctional officer's number below the screen also. You don't have access, you don't have the PDF, try to get in touch. For those who want to afford it, like buy it online, I'll appreciate that because I use some of the incomes for the earnings for the donation I usually organize as well. So I'll appreciate that if you can afford it on Google Play Store, on that website I just provided there. But if you want, or you don't have the means and you want the PDF, kindly get in touch with me. That's the number, WhatsApp number, and I'll give you the PDF to enjoy. There's this website in development thanks to one brother, Muhammad, who has helped me a lot concerning this movement. So the website will be available, I know, inshallah, before the end of this year, inshallah. So today's lecture, we are going to talk about the sacred months, right? The sacred months. So before we delve into the topic, there is also my YouTube channel. For those who don't know about my YouTube channel, that is Bush2G9. You set me with that name, Bush2G9. You see my YouTube channel where you have to subscribe. Kindly subscribe. Find all the lectures. And some of the old lectures I've done, I will be redoing such lectures because of the quality and everything I have now. So I will redo such lectures to have it in a more advanced level where people can actually benefit. I already know most of you are benefiting from my lectures already, but I'll try to do it in an advanced level. Everything will come with clarity where you can benefit enough so that we move on with this movement, inshallah. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate your support. Thank you, Jeep Joy. Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate that. Salam. Sister Nazkan, you're welcome. Wise G, Tariq Ayub, Salam, Audu, Mario, I see you all. Thank you all for those who are here and those who are not here yet. I appreciate your presence. I know you contribute to whatever, thing I have to present here, and you also take it with all diligence and benefit from it, inshallah. So thank you for your presence. This is my way I advise to Allah by perception. I and whoever follows me, and glory be to Allah, for I am not among the idolaters, which are the mushriks. I'm not part of them. So I seek refuge with Allah against the accursed devil, right? This is the correctional officer's page. Today we are going to delve into a topic. Salam. This is Dr. Aisha Musa. You're welcome. I see you. Hale, Free Riders, Nana Yauche. Thank you all for coming. So we are 17 minutes into the program. I'm done with the responding of greetings. That should be enough for now. So let's focus on the topic. For those I couldn't respond, I kindly apologize. Let's move on, right? So we are going to talk about the sacred months. Now, many a times you hear mainstream Muslims telling you, saying that they will say holy month, right? They will mention holy month. I term it as sacred month, and I'll give you the reasons why I said sacred month. Sometimes they are synonymous, holy, sacred, yes, but it depends on the context in which you use it, right? In Arabic, we have words which are synonymous. They look like each other or they resemble each other, but they are not the same. So, for instance, we have the word Qudus, right? Qudus is definitely holy, right? God himself is Al-Qudus, right? So then he has attributed certain locations. For instance, the Wadi al-Muqaddas Tuha, where he spoke to Musa alayhi salam, he called it Muqaddas. And something which is Muqaddas, which has been made as a what? Holy place, because it's a place. So Muqaddas, right? So God himself is Al-Quddus. But why is it that the word sacred, right? The word sacred, usually we use it for things, objects, or certain places, just things, objects, and places. Yes, we can use sacred for, right? Then, or we say a name or something. But if let's say I'm going to talk about God, I don't need to say sacred God. No, I have to use holy. You understand? Holy. He is holy. And this holy in Arabic we say Quddus. So I don't have to say he is haram God. You understand? No. I don't have to say God is al-haram. No. It doesn't befit the structure of the language in that sense. So when we say Ashurul Hurum, we are talking about the sacred months. Now, some people will be familiar with the word haram. When you say haram, Hurum is the plural form, right? When we say haram, the first thing that comes to mind, people think it means forbidden, right? However, in Arabic, one word can have multiple meanings. You just need to understand the subject of discussion and the context in which it is used. And many a times when I do lectures, I give people example. For instance, if you use the word kill in English language, when we say kill doesn't always necessarily mean to murder somebody. No. Kill can be used based on the context to mean something which doesn't mean literally to murder. No. So understanding the structure of how vocabularies works, and the subject and the content they are found in. You need to understand the context in which they are utilized. And when we say context in Arabic, they will say siyaq al-kalam, which is a discourse that surrounds a language unit and helps to determine its interpretation, right? So in order to help determine the interpretation of something, you need to know the mawdu, the topic of discussion or the subject of discussion. And then you need to know muhtawa. Muhtawa is the context being addressed or the context of discussion itself, so that you can adjust the context to fit in the criteria of discussion. And I keep giving examples several times, and I'll use the word like, okay, for those who watch football, I'll say Barcelona killed Real Madrid, or I'll say Real Madrid killed Barcelona. That doesn't mean literally they use guns and knife and whatever have you to kill them. No. It means they played a football match. In that context, they won them and they couldn't come back to equalize or something. So in that context, they killed them, right? So they terminated them. So understanding how choice of words are used in the subject of discussion and in the context, it helps to determine the interpretation surrounding the discourse you're reading or you're studying or you're trying to understand, right? Yeah. Now, we say sacred months. We'll be coming to what sacred months. But in order to understand the sacred months, if you go to Quran chapter 9, verse 36, let me see. I can share the screen so that we keep up to what I'm teaching. In order not to be distracted, let me just make sure I take any distractions off the screen. And then I share the screen to what I want you to see. So I take you to Quran chapter 9, verse 36. Yeah, chapter 9, verse 36. Let me see. Wait a second. Let me a second. Sorry, I want to see which screen when I use will be more like efficient. Yeah, I think this one will be okay, right? Aha. So let's take this verse, chapter 9, verse 36. That is Surah Tawbah, right? So God says in that verse, He says, Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allahi ithna ashara shara fi kitabillahi yawma khalaqa as-samawati wal ard minha arba'atu hurum. Then He says, Zalika dinul qayyim. Then He says, Fala tazlimu fihinna anfusakum wa qatilu al-mushrikina kafatan Kama yukatilunakum kafatan. Then He says what? وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. So the verse says, indeed, the number of months. So here it is using the plural form, the months. We have shuhur. Shuhur, in a singular form, we say shahar, right? So this shuhur, they are months. So the number of months in the lie at God, with God, or in front of God are what? Ithna Ashara, which are 12 months. In the register of God, or we can say in the book of God, but in the register of God, the register He has with Him, since the day He created the heavens and the earth. Then He said what? 4 out of these months, the 12 months, 4 out of them are what? Hurum. This hurum means sacred. Now, so for some people, they will say, oh, these are the forbidden months. If you have 12 and you said we have 4 forbidden months, what are you trying to say? Subtraction? Forbidden how? Taken out of the calendar? What is your point? Forbidden month, what? Try to understand the subject of discussion first before you try to translate words the way you like. Right? So when it comes to translation, we have a word called tarjama. Tarjama is translation. When you are dealing with translation, you have to understand, or I will say you need to encompass the knowledge of a particular subject or topic in order to be in a position whereby you can actually interpret what is being said. So by then you can give translation to somebody else to what is being said. Because sometimes translation works in this way. If you don't understand the equivalence of a speech in another language, what choice of words they use to make sense in the same context of discussion in another language, you will always translate things literally, and they don't always carry the same meaning in another language, right? So for instance, I speak Finnish language, right? It is one of the most difficult languages on earth. And this language, it has been structured in so that if you are a basic learner and you just come and take dictionaries and translate, use lexicons, you will never get it right. You need to understand the structure of the language and how the grammatical aspect is built. So when you know the basics and you know the structure of the language, it can become easier for you later on when you are using lexicons and dictionaries to know how to fixate words in a sentence. So now coming back to chapter 9, verse 36. So 4 out of the 12 months God mentioned are what? Hurum. This Hurum means sacred. They are sacred, not forbidden, right? So you will see people who just want to play with dictionaries and whatever have you. They will just say forbidden months. No, they are not forbidden. So let's fulfill the verse. So God says, thereof, out of the 12 months, we have 4 sacred months. So that is the valuable religion, right? That is a valuable religion. So do not wrong your souls during them, during them, those months. But fight all the polytheists, that is the idolaters, just as they fight you all. They fight you, the believers. Now remember, this verse is based on a context and a subject of discussion. It is Surah Tawbah, and that surah has nothing to do with you and I. It is based in the timeline of the incident which happened at the time of the Prophet, right? So whenever it's mentioning fight all the polytheists as they fight you, it is still not talking about you and I, right? We are just the audience for now. So just as they fight you all, and know that God is with those who are pious, that is with the pious ones, right? Okay. So now, let's go back here. So trying to understand the purpose of chapter 9, verse 36, it is just to give you the clarity as to why the sacred months, why the 4 sacred months God mentioned out of the 12 months. But he already told you since he created the heavens and the earth, 12 months are with him, right? And then out of the 12, 4 are sacred. And these 4 which are sacred, in every given generation, if you have a fixed date, 12 months, out of the 12 months, you have to dedicate 4 months as a sacred months or as sacred months to God. Now, when we say sacred, as I keep mentioning before, it is different from the word which we say holy in some instances. We have holy and we have sacred. Sometimes they can be interchangeable, they can be synonymous, but they are not the same. I can call God holy, but I don't need to call God sacred. No. But I can call objects, I can call book a sacred book. I can call a house, I can call a place a sacred place, right? But then in some instances, we can call a book holy, we can call an object holy, but when it comes to God, to use the word sacred God, it doesn't befit that. And I will explain why. So when we feel 4 out of the 12 are sacred, according to the sectarians, the 4 sacred months they have, or they say the so-called holy months they have, which are 4, they said number 1 is Muharram. For those who don't know the Arabic, the Hijr calendar, I'm going to mention the Hijr calendar, right? You can Google it yourself. Search the Hijr calendar, which was backdated from the time of Muhammad, the Prophet alayhi salam. Number 1, we have Muharram, which is the first month. Then we have Safar, second month. We have Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani, Jumad al-Awwal, which is the 4th month, Jumad al-Akhir, Rajab, Shaban, Ramadan, Shawwal, Zulqadah, and then we have Zulhijjah. So 12 months. 12 months, and these 12 months are based on the Hijr calendar, right? Good. Now, many a times people try to listen to other external influences trying to tell them certain things about this calendar and say, oh, this was done at the time of Umar, at the time of this, at the time of this. Please don't pay attention to such stories, right? You know the tactics of the devil already, right? Okay. Now, if you want to trace the calendar, you can go on the calendar of the Battle of Badr, which was fought at the time of the Prophet, which is at the 17th of Ramadan, 2nd year after Hijr. It traces back to the time of the Prophet. So that is why when you count the calendar till date, we have about 1,444 years, right? It goes back in time. So it is not coming from Umar or something. It is there at the time of the Prophet, because you can trace the Battle of Badr, the date is there. That is 13th March, 634 in the year of the Common Era. You trace the calendar, is there. Now, coming back to the points, sacred months. So the sectarians, the Sunnis, the Shias, they agree that the sacred months are four, and these four, they said they are Muharram, Rajab, Zulqa'dah, and Zulhijjah. So to them, the first month is a sacred month. Then from the first month, they jump to the seventh month, which is Rajab. Then from Rajab, they jump to Zulqa'dah, right? So Zulqa'dah, they go to Zulhijjah. So from the first month of the calendar, they jump to the seventh month. From the seventh, they jump to the 11th. From the 11th, they go to 12th. So they have 4 months in a year. So according to them, by the definition of sacred, let me give you the definition of sacred. When I'm done, we assess it and see, according to them, why out of their 4 months, they don't have Ramadan part of the sacred months, right? Let's go and check. So when we say sacred, we are talking about concerned with religion or religious purposes, right? Or worthy of respect or dedication, considered as holy and devoted to a deity, right? Some religious ceremony or some other act. Now, this is the sacred here. So now, why is it that the sectarians don't classify Ramadan as a sacred month? Yet, out of their hypocrisy, if you ask them, which is the holiest month in Islam, they will use the word. Or if you just ask them, what is the most sacred month in Islam, they will say Ramadan. You see how confused they are. But just ask them, the 4 sacred months you guys have, is Ramadan part of it? They will say no. So then who gave you the sacred months? They got it from the hadith books, not coming from the Quran. I'm here to teach you the 4 sacred months of the Quran, right? Inshallah. Yeah. So what they did is they will confuse you with the hadith books to tell you the sacred months. They start from Muharram and then they jump to Rajab and then they jump to Zulqa'dah and then they go to Zulhijjah. So these are the 4 sacred months they have. You can see Ramadan is not part of it. You can search it for yourself, right? Okay, I'm going to debunk that argument and then show you what the Quran says. Now, when we fulfill chapter 9, verse 37, chapter 9, verse 37, and I'm going to share the screen and let's see what God says in that verse, right? So, chapter 9, verse 37. So, God says, and the seal, that is the deferment, to defer something. And I'm going to help out here. When we say deferment, an act of putting off to a future time. You take something away from its position and you take it to a future time. So let's say I give you an assignment and I say, do it right now. Then you say, oh, I'll do it later. Now, taking that from the timeline I give you the assignment, and you say, no, you push it to another date. That is a deferment. You defer from what I have actually given you to do. So God is the nasihu. This is when we say nasihu, to actually forget something from its initial time and to put it at a later time. So this deferment, these sectarians just did with the Muharram, the first month, and then they jump to what? Rajab, the 7th month, and then they jump to the 11th month, Zulqa'dah, and then they go to Zulhijjah. You can see Zulqa'dah and Zulhijjah, 11th and 12th months, they are together. But how is it that they left a gap between Muharram and Rajab, and then between Rajab and then Zulqa'dah? So this is the deferment here. And I'm going to show you the inconsistency in their logic. So the deferment is only an increase in disbelief, right? An increase in disbelief, kufur, by which those who have disbelieved misguide. So this is how the sectarians will misguide you concerning the sacred months of God. They will misguide you because the hadith books are the ones showing them all this. So they think possibly if you are following the Quran alone, you cannot know this. And I'm here to break that jinx and explain to you how it works. I've done this lecture before, long time ago, but because of the clarity, so I have to redo it again, right? They make it, that is the sacred month, they make it what? Lawful a year and outlaw it another year. in order to correspond with the number of what God has outlawed. Or we can say what God has made sacred. And they make lawful what God has what? Made what? Sacred or outlawed. And done to them is the evil of their deeds. For God does not what? Guide the disbelieving people. Now, when you take the context of chapter 9, verse 36 to 37, it is connected. They are connected. So that chapter 9, verse 37 is actually giving a clue of what is being told in chapter 9, verse 36. They are not separated, right? So God gave us 12 months, and out of the 12 months, we have 4 sacred months dedicated to God. And they have to be consecutive. They are not to be separated. They are not to be deferred. And I'll give you the instance to that, right? Good. So now we've seen in Quran chapter 9, verse 36 to verse 37, right? Good. We've seen that to defer from the sacred months God has given and to put it some other time, you can see even though the sectarians, the mushriks, they do agree that they are 4 sacred months, but then they choose their own way of arranging it on the calendar. So they put Muharram first, they jump to Rajab 7th, then they jump to 11th, Zulqa'dah, and then they go to Hajj, Zulhijjah. So they have 4 sacred months, but they are going contrary to what God has instructed. So when you compare Quran chapter 9, verse 36 to 37, you get the clue of what is being said. However, the months, they have to be together with each other. So let's go and get the clue. The clue is found in Quran chapter 2, verse 196. Sorry, 194. Yeah, Quran chapter 2, verse 194. And let me share the screen and let's see the verse, right? Yeah. So in Quran chapter 2, verse 194, God says, Asharul Haram Bisharul Haram. Asharul Haram Bisharul Haram. Right? Then he says, Wa hurumati kisas. Wal hurumati kisas. Famani tada alaykum. Fa'atadu alayhi bimithlihi. You see? Then he says, alayhi bimithlihi ma ihtada alaykum. Wattaqullaha wa alamu anna Allah ma'al muttaqin. So God says the sacred month for the sacred month, or we can say the sacred month with the sacred month. Now, the reason why you can use the word for, or you can use the word with, and you can use the word by, these are objects or they are things. Is the name of an event. In Arabic, if you're talking about human beings, you don't say Shu'aib bil Salim. No. You have to say Shu'aib ma'al Salim. Shu'aib is with. So with. The word ma'a you use for people, but when you're coming with objects or things or events, you can say bil. So asharur haram bil sharur haram. So the sharur haram, they are with each other. They go along with each other. So when God gave you 4 sacred months, ashurul hurum, they have to be together. You don't separate them and put this one here and put this one there. That becomes a deferment, because you are going against the way God has actually, aligned it, right? So the sacred months for the sacred months, or with the sacred months. So it has to be. It is with the sacred month. You don't separate them. What did the sectarians do? They have Muharram, the 1st month, and then they jump to Rajab, the 7th month. That's the deferment, and then you have separated the way what God asked you to do. They have to be together. They shouldn't be separated. So then from Rajab, they go to Zulqa'dah, 11th month. So from the 7th, they jump in between again. So they are not together. Then God says, as for the inviolabilities, hurumati, then he says what? There is what? Kisas, retaliation. So whoever attacks you, you see the context. Whoever attacks you, even though in the sacred month, you are not supposed to fight. You are not supposed to attack somebody. But whoever starts it first, God is going to give you the privilege to actually retaliate. So he says, whoever attacks you, then attack him with the like of what he has attacked you. And beware of God, and know that God is with those who are pious. So that is the notion back in the days, centuries ago, years ago. You hear somebody telling you, because it's in the month of Ramadan, I don't have to fight with you, because it's a sacred month. You dedicate Ramadan to God. We do this act in the month for God. Quran chapter 2 verse 183. Sharu Ramadan allazi unzila fihi al-Quran hudan linnas. Right? So that is the month. Then he says, Ya ayyuhallazina, sorry, chapter 2 verse 185 is what I quoted. Quran chapter 2 verse 183. He says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba alal lazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Right? So the siyam has been laid down for you so that you may attain piousness. Now, with the pious act, you dedicate your piety to who? To God. So that becomes a sacred month in which you are dedicating yourself to God. So with this sacred month, back in the days, you hear people telling you, oh, because I'm fasting or because I'm doing the abstinence, I don't need to fight. Even if you try to fight with me, I forgive you. Maybe after Ramadan, we fight. Back in the days, you hear things like that, right? But the problem with what the hadith has done to the people is actually to corrupt the mindset of the people in a different angle, right? So people don't give Ramadan its true value. There is a reason why God mentioned the month of Ramadan by name, according to Quran chapter 2 verse 185, where he says, Sharu Ramadan allazi unzila fihi al-Quran hudan linnas. Right? So the month of Ramadan, God intentionally mentioned because the believers at that time, they knew or they know there's a month called Ramadan. They know that. So there wasn't any confusion. They weren't asking, what month is the month of Ramadan? No. Right. Okay. So then God says, fight those who attack you. When somebody fights you, fight them. But you are not supposed to be the initiator or the aggressor, right? Okay, so that is Quran chapter 2, verse 194. So it clearly tells you that the Shahrul Haram, it has to be with the Shahrul Haram. So starting with a month, which is a sacred month, you have to connect it with the next month, which is also a sacred month. So if we have to go by the Quran, Ramadan is a month, it's a sacred month by definition, and it's a sacred month dedicated to God. And it is a sacred month mentioned by name, so that you will know how to pinpoint the rest, right? They go in line. They are not to be separated, and I will explain to you why. So now, the reason why God mentioned fight those who fight you, if you go to the same chapter, Quran chapter 2, verse 190, it clearly tells you this. I share the screen and you see what it says, right? Quran chapter 2, verse 190. And God says what? وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا. Then he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. He says, and fight those who fight you in the way of God, but do not aggress. So you shouldn't be the aggressor in the first place. But you have been given the permission to fight back when people fight you, even though it's a sacred month. You have given permission. Now I'll be drawing the conclusion in Surah At-Tawbah, where you could get to understand the clear concept. Everything I'm saying is based in the timeline of the prophets and the believers. We are not talking about you right now. Right now, we will see our thing and the context in which we are based in. So fight those who fight you in the way of God, but do not aggress. Indeed, God does not like the aggressors. So if you are an aggressor, God doesn't like you. So you have to change your ways, right? Okay. So now, that is Quran chapter 2, verse 194. And then I just read Quran chapter 2, verse 190, right? Now I take you to Quran chapter 9, verse 1 to verse 2. Then we go and see the 4 months. Is this consecutively or not? So this is where you get the clue. So I take you to Quran chapter 9, verse 1. That is Surah At-Tawbah. And let's see what the verses say, right? I share the screen here. Yeah. So this is Quran chapter 9, verse 1 to verse 2, Surah At-Tawbah. Then he says, Baratu min Allahi wa Rasuli. إِلَى الَّذِينَ عَاهَدتُّم مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. It says a permit. When we say baratu, it's like a pact, it's like an agreement, a permit, right? From God and his messenger to those who have made an agreement with you, the believers, at that time, not you now. Among the idolaters, that is the polytheists, mushriki. Verse 2. Then it says, Fasihu fil ard arba'ata ashhur. So he's telling them to travel on earth for 4 months. Who are those? The mushrikeen, the disbelievers. There's an agreement, there's a baratu, a permit, so they can move around. There's no fight between them and the believers. Because remember, the believers have been told not to attack, not to fight, unless when somebody fights them. So there's an agreement between God and the mushriks. That's God and his messenger with the mushriks. There's no fight between the believers and the mushriks. So this fight has been restricted for 4 months because of the sacred months. So it has been restricted. 4 months, they can do what they want. They can move around. There's no fight between them and the believers. So there's like a ceasefire, like a pact, where there's no fighting between us, right? So travel on earth for 4 months and know that you, the mushriks, cannot cause failure to God, and that God will disgrace the kafirin, the disbelievers, right? So now he has given them 4 months. These 4 months, that is the same time the believers are observing the 4 sacred months. So what happens? There has to be an agreement, a pact, a permit, whereby they will know there's no fight between them and the believers. So when you connect this verse back to chapter 9, verse 36, you get to understand why God says, fight all the mushriks just as they fight you, or if they fight you, fight them. He has given you the permission, even though it's a sacred month that you are not supposed to fight, right? Because that month has to be dedicated to God. So why go on fighting? Good. Then again, that is Quran chapter 9, verse 1 and chapter 9, verse 2 to show you about the 4 months, right? So the 4 months, are they consecutive, or do they have to be somewhere? This is here, or that's there. Why? Let's see. I take you to Quran chapter 9, verse 28, right? In the same surah, chapter 9, verse 28. That is in Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 28. So God says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, innal mushrikuna najasu. He is telling you, all you who have believed, the mushriks are what? Are only polluted. He says, innama mushrikuna najasu. That's the mushriks at that time. It is not talking to us now. Understand the context of discussion right now. The timeline is during the time of the prophet, and he's telling what is happening, right? So he's telling them, the mushriks at that hour, where they are polluted, they are najas. When we say something is a najas, it's a pollution, right? Then he says, Fala yakrabu, so they will not approach masjid al-haram. And like I said, the word haram, it doesn't mean forbidden. It can mean forbidden, but not in this context. I'll tell you why. So Masjid al-Harama, Bada amihim haza, after this year of theirs, it tells you the 4 sacred months, it has to be existed in a year, right? 1 year, it is there. The 4 months has to be in the 12 months. So you take the 4 sacred months out of a 12 months. But like I told you in Quran chapter 2, verse 194, it clearly tells you they are consecutive. They shouldn't be separated. They come hand in hand with each other. So Asharu Haram, Bi Sharu Haram. They are together. So all you who have believed, the idolaters are what? Only polluters. So they shall not approach the sacred mosque, masjid, place of submission or place of worship. They shouldn't approach there because they've been banned from entering after this year. So God is telling her, after this year of theirs, because this year they have been given the 4 months to roam. 4 months in the timeline I'm discussing about, right? And if you fear for financial support, he's telling the believers, then God will enrich you from his favor if he wills. Indeed, God is omniscient and wise. Okay, good. Now we've seen in Quran chapter 9 verse 28, it's telling the believers that the mushriks are polluted even though they have an agreement with the believers. In chapter 9 verse 1, right? And chapter 9 verse 2, they should roam the earth for 4 months, right? So those 4 months, they are consecutive. They are not like this is here, this is there. No, they are consecutive. So now, if you take the month of Muharram, exactly when God says after this year of theirs, they are to be banned from approaching the Masjid al-Haram. So that means when the 4 months they have been given, when they start from Ramadan, which is the 9th month on the Hijr calendar, Ramadan is a month we dedicate to God. It's a sacred month. So we observe the abstinence, the Siyam. So now, starting from Ramadan, the 9th month on the Hijr calendar, you have what? You have Shawwal. Then you have Zulqadah. Then you have Zulhijjah. So those are 4 consecutive months. Those months are to be dedicated to God as sacred months. Exactly when the year ends, the first month appearing is called Muharram. So they've been forbidden from entering the Masjid al-Haram. That is why it's called Muharram. They have been forbidden to come there. So the mushriks are not to approach the Masjid al-Haram at that timeline, in the time of the Prophet, if you get what I mean. So God is telling the believers in Quran chapter 9 verse 28, after this year of theirs, they are not to approach the Masjid al-Haram again. They've been banned. That's why the following year is called Muharram, the first month of the Hijr calendar. Now, to understand how the word Muharram has been used to forbid for something, you can also reference chapter 5 verse 26, Surah Al-Ma'idah, when God forbade the children of Israel from roaming the earth for, I think, 40 years or so. Right? So now, the 4 sacred months, like I said, we have Ramadan, which is the 9th month on the Hijr calendar. We have Shawwal, the 10th month. We have Zulqadah, which is the 11th month. We have Zulhijjah, which is the 12th month. Even though God didn't mention all by name, but it is based on the clarity of the context of the verses of God that you can determine this. Somebody will say, how come it doesn't mention the other names? The Quran is not a book where it gives you the names of everything. The wives of the prophets, their names are not mentioned. The wife of Prophet Musa, her name is not mentioned. Why? Because it's irrelevant to the discussion. What God wants you to do is mentioned in Quran chapter 38 verse 29. He wants you to contemplate the verses. If you are intelligent, you take heed. If you have intelligence, you take heed of the verses of God. You get my point? So now we are going to draw a contrast from chapter 9 verse 5 and combine with chapter 9 verse 28 to understand if the 4 months they've been given is actually within the same year. So now let's see. In Quran chapter 9 verse 5, Quran chapter 9 verse 5, Surah At-Tawbah, it says, and when the sacred months, Ashurul Hurum, the Ashurul Hurum, when the sacred months have what? Passed, when they are passed, because they are consecutive and they are with each other. Asharu Haram, Bisharu Haram. So starting from Ramadan, we have Shawwal. After Shawwal, we have Zulqadah. After Zulqadah, we have Zulhijjah. So these are 4 consecutive months. So 4 months dedicated to God, and 4 months the mushriks also have been given the freedom to roam, and they can enter the Masjid al-Haram without a fight. That is in the timeline of the Prophet. So after these 4 months, the sacred months, the year ends. And when the year ends, the first month of the Hijr calendar is what? Muharram. So the mushriks were forbidden from entering the Masjid al-Haram now. That is why it's called Muharram. So it marks the beginning of knowing that this is the month the mushriks are not supposed to enter, because the other year has ended. Badr amihim aza, as said in Quran chapter 9 verse 28. So in Quran chapter 9 verse 5, and when the sacred months have passed, 4 months consecutively, when they pass, do you understand? If we have to go by what the mushriks and the sectarians are using, they have Muharram, and they have Rajab, and they have Zulqadah, and they have Zulhijjah. So how is it passed? Because if you have Muharram and you say it's a holy month or sacred month, you have to wait again. You start counting all the months. You go to the 7th month. So how is it passed? How? Do you get what I mean? Because they choose Muharram as a sacred month. Now, coming to the point, before I complete, let me complete this verse, chapter 9, verse 5. Then I explain to you how the word haram has a lot of meanings and the word Muharram can have a lot of meanings. You just need to understand the subject of discussion and context. And when the sacred months have passed, then fight the mushriks wherever you find them. Seize them, confine them, and be seated for them at every observation post. That is a marfadi. But if they repent, establish the salat, that is the litany, and give the zakat, then allow their way. Indeed, God is forgiving and merciful, which is their way. The simple way God instructed all of us is in Quran chapter 98, verse 5. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ. Chapter 98, verse 5. And they were not commanded or mandated except to serve God or worship God, sincerely devoting the religion or the deen to Him. Hanifan, Hunafa, truthfully, orthodoxly, right? And establishing the salat, giving the zakat, and that is the valuable deen or the upright deen. Now, so when you take Quran chapter 9, verse 5, people have to be in accordance with the way God has commanded it to do things. So the mushriks, if they are willing to compromise and do exactly how God instructed, then you can allow them. They are no more mushriks then. Because a mushrik is somebody who associates partners with God. Even his salat, he does it the wrong way. His zakat, he does it the wrong way. Everything he does will be wrong. How is that possible? Check Quran chapter 8, verse 35. Do you see the kafirun? How do you do their salat? Is the whistling and clapping. Is it the same as God instructed you? The answer is no. Do you understand my point? Okay. So Quran chapter 9, verse 5, it's clearly telling you that sacred months, they have 4 months consecutively. That's why God initially, intentionally mentioned the name of the month of Ramadan, which is the 9th month on the calendar. So when you take Ramadan, after Ramadan, you have 3 months following it, and the year ends. So that's 4 months consecutively. That's why it says Sharu Haram, the Sharu Haram, chapter 2, verse 194. They are not to be deferred. They are not to be separated. They are consecutively. So when they end, the year ends. So the first month of the next year becomes Muharram. So the mushrik have been forbidden from entering the Masjid al-Haram. This is it. You understand? Now, so that is Quran chapter 9, verse 5. Now, coming back to why I said the word haram, it has multiple meanings. If you go to Quran chapter 17, verse 1, the word haram, it means sacred or sanctioned. Quran chapter 5, verse 97. Quran, let me see if I can put this bigger enough so people can see it on the screen, right? Let me do this. Bear with me a second. Let me do this so people will see it bigger enough, right? Okay. So I put this, I share the screen. So this is the screen. You can see it clearly, I hope. What I want you to see is, when we say haram, haram, it doesn't always mean forbidden. Neither does it always mean sacred, right? Like I told you, one word in Arabic can have multiple meanings. You need to understand the mawdu'u, the subtopic of discussion, and then the context, the siyaq al-kalam, which is the context. Then you can get the content, which is the muhtawa. So when we say haram, when you go to Quran chapter 17, Surah Al-Isra, verse 1, the word haram is that Masjid al-Haram. That is a sanctioned or sacred mosque. Quran chapter 5, verse 97. The Kaaba, which has been made as the Bayt al-Haram for the people, you see the haram. It is not forbidden house. Neither does it say forbidden mosque there. It is what? A sanctioned or sacred house. Quran chapter 5 verse 97. Quran chapter 2 verse 198. That word there, haram, is not forbidden, right? It is what? Sanctioned or sacred. Quran chapter 5 verse 2. It's mentioned the Bayt al-Haram and it's mentioned the Masjid al-Haram. It is not forbidden. They are sanctioned or sacred. However, Quran chapter 10 verse 59, the same word haram, over there, it means forbidden, outlaw something, to forbid something. Quran chapter 10 verse 59. Then again we have Quran chapter 16 verse 116. That is forbidden. You remember the verse where God says, do not say this is haram, this is halal, in order to fabricate lies about God? That verse. So Quran chapter 16 verse 116, the word haram mentioned there, it means forbidden or outlaw. That doesn't mean sacred there. No, it means outlaw or forbidden. You see the same word haram. You see the multiple meanings. Good. Then we have the word hurum, which is the plural form of the word haram. So hurum is mentioned in Quran chapter 9 verse 5. This hurum means sacred months. In that verse, chapter 9 verse 5. Then we have chapter 9 verse 36, where God says arba'atu hurum, 4 sacred months, right? Chapter 9 verse 36, it means sacred. But then, if we go to Quran chapter 5 verse 1, Surah Al-Ma'idah, in that context, it's talking about the people. So it is the state of sanctity. You have been sanctioned to be in a sanctified position. So in the state of sanctity. So that is what? Chapter 5 verse 1. The same word hurum. Then we have chapter 5 verse 95. Chapter 5 verse 96. State of sanctity. Then we have what we call harrama. It is a second verb form of the word haram. So harrama, it has a shadda, the thing that comes like W on top of the middle letter, right? So harrama, Quran chapter 27 verse 91, it becomes sacred. Where Prophet Muhammad says, innama harrama rabbi al-fawahisha. Sorry, not that. In that verse also, harrama rabbi al-fawahisha ma zahara minha wa ma batana, right? That is forbidden. I'll come to that. But here, harrama, chapter 27, verse 91, where the prophet says, wa umirtu an akuna min al-muslimin, in that one, in that verse. So this harrama mentioned there is a sacred, right? Sacred city. Harrama has a baldati, right? Okay. So now we have that, and then we go, which can be sacred or sanctioned. Quran chapter 6, verse 151, right? So the word there is sanctioned, which is Muharram, right? We can say, so let me take it out here. Yeah. Quran chapter 7, verse 32, the word harrama, in that context, it will mean what? Forbidden. Chapter 7, verse 32, the same word harrama. In another context, it means to sanction or sacred. Quran chapter 3, verse 93, it means forbidden. Quran chapter 6, verse 150, it means forbidden. Quran chapter 6, verse 143 to 144, it means forbidden. The same word harrama. Now, we come Muharram. Muharram chapter 14, verse 37, it doesn't mean haram, it doesn't mean forbidden. It means sacred. It means sanctioned. Quran chapter 6, verse 151, it doesn't mean forbidden. God doesn't forbid you to be a righteous person. So if Quran chapter 6, verse 151, you go and translate the Muharram as forbidden, it means you are trying to say your God forbid to be a righteous person. Do you understand how logic works with the Quran? The guidelines is in Quran chapter 38, verse 29. Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka mubarakun liyadabbaru ayatihi wa liyatazakkara ulul albab. A blessed book which we have revealed to you, so that they may contemplate its verses, and that those of intelligence will what? Take heed, or will be mindful. The book is meant to you for you to contemplate. It's a written work, and it takes intelligence and knowledge to grasp what God is saying. You don't just take words, use lexicons, and say, oh, this is the meaning of this word. It doesn't work that way. Understand the context of the Quran itself and the subject of discussion. So Quran chapter 2, verse 85, in that context, the Muharram means to forbid something, forbidden. Chapter 5, verse 26, the children of Israel forbidden for 40 years to roam the earth, right? Chapter 6, verse 139, Muharram, forbidden. Chapter 6, verse 145, Muharram, forbidden. You understand? Now, Haraman, when we say Haraman, is mentioned in Quran chapter 29, verse 67, and Quran chapter 28, verse 57. So the first one is 29, verse 67, and then this is 28, verse 57. It means sanctuary or sanctum. You understand? In that context. You can see the similarities of the word. Haraman, Muharram, Harrama, and Haram. They don't actually always mean the same thing. Do you want to know the guidelines? I'll help you out. The guidelines can be found in Quran chapter 3, verse 7, on how to understand why God uses such words. And that's why the Quran, you will have to acquire knowledge to understand certain topics in the Quran. Yes, that's why God says in Quran chapter 17, verse 36, وَلَا تَخَفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. Do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. God wants you to acquire knowledge. Don't just sit there and say, why would God? The book is not difficult when you study it. So study it and don't use the whims and desires, and let God do the talking. Quran chapter 10, verse 82, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. God says he will enforce the truth with his words, even if the criminals dislike it. Quran chapter 10, verse 82. Bear in mind. Now I bring you to Quran chapter 3, verse 7, right? Chapter 3, verse 7. And I'm going to give you the guidelines why sometimes words can look similar, but they don't mean the same thing always, right? Good. So he says, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب وأخر متشابهة فأما الذين في قلوبهم زيغ فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تاويل وما يعلم تاويله إلا الله والراسخون في العلم يقولون آمنا به كل من عند ربنا وما يذكر إلا أولي الألباب. So let's see what the verse says. He, God, is the one who has revealed the Al-Kitab to you, Muhammad alayhi salam, of which are precise signs, right? The Quran contains signs, symbols, verses. You understand? The word ayat can have different meanings based on context as well. They are the what? Source of the book. When we say Ummu is the source, that's why we come from our mother. Our mothers are our source, where we come from. You come from your mom because she gave birth to you. So that's our source. So that's the main, or we can say the mother of the book. So the verses which are precise, which can be used for governance, can be used for judgment. That's what we call muhkamat. So these signs in the Quran, they are precise. There are no two ways about it, right? Precise ones. They are the source of the book. Then we have what? While others are what? Mutashabiha. Now some people will say they are ambiguous. No, it's not ambiguous. Some people will say they are unspecific. No, don't use such words for the Quran. It's wrong when you use such words. Mutashabiha means similar or resembling each other, right? When twins resemble each other, you don't say they are unspecific or confused. No, you don't say they are, no. As for those in whose hearts is deviation, they will then follow what is similar thereof. Just because a word or a sign or a verse looks similar in the Quran doesn't always mean it's the same meaning. Or you see people trying to go and create, an external source because the words they think is similar. So no, they have to go external source to give them further explanation. That is a problem. So those who have deviation in their hearts, they will then follow what is similar thereof, seeking discord and what? And seeking its interpretation. So it says what? But they do not know its interpretation except Allah. That is number one. It doesn't stop there. Then it says, as well as those deeply rooted in knowledge. Now, except Allah, there's a comma. In English, for those who know English comprehension and English grammar, There are rules to understanding how the language works. You know how comma works, you know how full stop works, punctual marks and question marks, unlike Arabic language, right? Good. So the word wa, and the letter wa, you see that letter wa? It is used to signify the beginning of a fikra, a paragraph. It is used to create a conjunction. It is used to give a comma. It is used to connect things. Like we say in English, we can use the word plus one. In Arabic, you can use the wa to actually join two things together also. But in this context, when we are translating it to English, not only about interpretation, you need to know how to do the translation to understand the context on how it works. So when it says except God, there's a comma. By that, there's no full stop there. What you see the sectarians doing is they put full stop and say only God knows the meaning. If only God knows the meaning of the Quran, then the Quran is a useless book. We don't need it then. If you say only God knows the meaning or the interpretation, no. Why do you think God mentioned those deeply rooted in knowledge? Let's go and find out. So there's a comma. Then he says, as well as those deeply rooted in knowledge. رَاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. God didn't say you just need to have knowledge. He says those deeply rooted in knowledge. You have to have the roots and foundation and understand a structure on the basis of how knowledge works to decipher. That is why academically, when people go for their academics, they are being given degrees. So they know the level of knowledge they are acquiring. You understand? So now, as well as those deeply rooted in knowledge, they are the ones who say, not God, those deeply rooted in it, because it's a plural form. They are in plurality. So they say, we believe in it. What is the it? This bihi, it is a masculine pronoun addressing to the book. Look at the subject of discussion. The subject is talking about the Al-Kitab. So they believe in it, right? That is the book. It's a singular pronoun, a masculine pronoun attributed to the Al-Kitab, not the verses. If it is the verses, we are talking about a feminine pronoun. The word here or her is to determine the feminine attribute of the book, which is the verses. But when we are talking about the masculine pronoun, it is referencing to the book or the Quran. So he says, we believe in it. They didn't say we believe in them, not the verses. All is what? From what? From our Lord. So whatever verses you find in the Al-Kitab, all is from what? From our Lord. But only those of intelligence will take it or remember what is being said in this verse. Now that is the guidelines to help you understand certain concepts of the science you see in the Quran. Don't just take words and think lexicon is the solution. Look, I speak Finnish language. You can't, I throw challenge to anybody listening to me. If you are a beginner, you have never understood the structure of the language, of Finnish language. If I give you a lexicon, you can never break down the Finnish language for me. You mess everything up. You need to have basics in the comprehension and grammatical aspect of the language first. Then when you are given a lexicon or a dictionary, then you know how to decipher and break things down. So that is why knowledge is very, very relevant. If I don't have knowledge, you don't see babashuaib sitting here teaching you all this, right? Good. So now let's just go back to the point. So now we have seen the basis of why the word haram or haram can have multiple meanings. So when we say masjid al-haram, we are not saying forbidden mosque. We are actually saying that what the sacred masjid, which is the sacred mosque or the place of worship or the place of submission, right? Good. So now, when you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 217, let's see what it says. In Quran chapter 2, verse 217, and I'll put the verse on the screen. Yeah, I'll put the verse on the screen and let's see. 217, let me share here. So Quran chapter 2, verse 217, it says what? Yas'alunaka anil shahril haram. When they ask you about the sacred month, not the forbidden months, nothing like forbidden month in the Quran. God gave you 12 months. He didn't forbid any month there. It's not a forbidden month. The sacred month or the sanctioned month that you have to dedicate to God, right? So when they ask you about that month, you the messenger, when they ask you concerning the sacred month, then he says what? Kitalin fihi. So they ask you about that month concerning fighting therein. You remember, God already said in Quran chapter 9, verse 36, you are not supposed to fight, but when the mushriks fight you, fight them or else they fight you, right? So do not be the aggressor. But now believers might ask, but still, what if the mushrik or kafir fights me? Can I fight back? God is going to answer, right? So yes, alunaka an shahr haram kitalin fihi kul kitalun fihi kabirun wasaddu an sabilillahi wa kufrun bihi wal masjid al harami wa ikhraju alihi minhu akbaru inda Allahi wal fitnatu akbaru min al qatl. Now, coming to that, let me explain this part before I move on. They ask you about the sacred month, as the Shahr al-Haram, fighting therein. You the messenger say, fighting therein is a great sin, but repelling from the way of God and disbelieving in it and the sacred mosque and the eviction of its people therefrom are greater in front of God, and routing is greater than murder. When we say routing, whenever there's no peace, that's why God gave the word baratu. Baratu means a permit, so that they can have peace between the mushriks and the believers. So the baratu was to serve as a pact, an agreement where there's no fight. So whenever there's a rout, means there's a confusion, there's no agreement of mutual respect. That's why we say fitna. So when there's a rout, routing, what it causes is it causes confusion. It brings chaos. There's no stability, right? So routing is greater than what? Murder, than the fighting or killing. And they will not cease fighting you. God is now telling the believers that the mushriks will not cease fighting you until they revert you from your religion. If they are able, if they are capable, they will do that. And whoever among you reverts from his religion and dies while being a disbeliever, then those are the ones whose deeds have become worthless. In the world and the hereafter, those are the companions of the fire. They will be therein eternally. Right? Okay. So now I just read Quran chapter 2, verse 217. To understand the jinx, why I said Shahr Ramadan is a sacred month, and I give you the evidences to that. If you go back to the lecture after I'm done, you see the evidence why Shahr Ramadan is a sacred month. Shahr Ramadan, when you take the Quran, Shahr Ramadan, Quran chapter 2, verse 183, it starts talking about the Siyam. 184 tells you how to do the certain guidelines to follow. 185 tells you the month of Ramadan is that in which the Quran was revealed. So when you observe that month, you have to fast, right? Now, when you finish entirely about the Siyam, up to 187, all the verses in the continuation going downwards is about the sacred month and the Hajj. So consecutively, God gives you the clue from chapter 2, verse 183. You read up to 203. It's all about Ramadan and the sacred month and the Hajj. Consecutively. Just like when you take the Hijr calendar, you have Ramadan, the 9th month. Everything that transpires, Ramadan, Shawwal, Zulqa'dah, Zulhijjah, is all about sacred dedication to God. Right? So if you decide to do Hajj, you can do it in Shawwal, in Zulqa'dah and Zulhijjah, because that is when the year ends. So that is why in the ancient times, people can travel from far away by camels, by whatever, by sheep, by whatever, and go for Hajj, and nothing will happen to them, right? They are safe. Nobody will meet you on the way and say, oh, are you a Muslim? And then kill you. No, you are safe back in the days. Now, why is it that the hadith people restricted the Hajj months to just 1 month and 10 days? Out of 1 month, there's 10 days, and you gather about millions of people in the same zone, and people go dying, right? This is out of coverage area. That's not the Islam God has given you in the Quran. Quran chapter 22, verse 78, God says He is the one who has chosen you and has not placed any difficulty upon you in the deen. If your religion is difficult, it's not from God. It has to be simple. Now, when you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 190 to 194, I'm going to read those verses and show you something. Chapter 2, verse 190 to 194. And it says, and fight those who fight you in the way of God, but do not aggress. Indeed, God does not like the aggressors. And then kill whoever you apprehend, wherever you apprehend them. It's not talking about me and you right now. And expel them from whence they expelled you. It's talking about the mushriks when they attack you and try to kill the believers as well. You have to do that. Then it says, and expel them from whence they expelled you. Because you can see everything they started, the mushriks started first. For routing is worse than murder, but do not fight them at the Masjid al-Haram, because that is where the pact has been made and no fighting should happen there. Unless they fight you. If they fight the believers there, the believers should fight back therein. And if they fight you, then what? Kill them. And it's not talking about me and you right now. It's talking about the timeline of the prophet, because they have a war at that time with them. But they signed a pact, which is the Baratu, so there is no fight for 4 months between them. It has nothing to do with you and I this modern day. We are just audience to this information. Likewise is the requital of the disbelievers. Then it goes. But if they refrain, then indeed God is forgiving and merciful. So if they refrain from fighting you, no need to fight. That is why Quran chapter 2, verse 190 tells you, you shouldn't be the aggressor. 193, and fight them until there is no rout. When they fight you, you have to fight them until there is no fighting again. There is no rout or chaos. And the religion should be for God. That is, it has to be dedicated for God, just like as it's mentioned in Quran chapter 98, verse 5. Then he says, but if they refrain, then there is no aggression except against the transgressors. So if they refrain, no need to go and aggress against them. You only fight the transgressors. 194. The sacred month with the sacred month. That is Shahr al-Haram, bi Shahr al-Haram. So the word bi is to signify the sacred months, they have to be together. So Ramadan, Shawwal, Zulqa'dah, and Zulhijjah is 4 months consecutively. After they are done, the year ends, Muharram starts, the mushriks have been forbidden to enter the Masjid al-Haram. So four of the sacred months, the months are consecutively. They are not to be separated. They are consecutive. And Ramadan is the first of the sacred months, the Ashurul Hurum. That is the month dedicated to God. And then is the first of the 4 sacred months. So if you want to understand that they are in line, they are consecutive, start reading Quran chapter 2, verse 183. All the verses there up to 203 are talking about Ramadan, sacred months, and then what? The Hajj. It's consecutive. That is the clue. You understand? So that is why initially God only mentioned Ramadan by name, the month of Ramadan, so that you can pinpoint on the calendar and know how to get the 4 months. You understand? Good. So when we say the Battle of Badr, it was fought on Tuesday, 13th March, 624 Common Era. I think earlier I said 634. I made a mistake. 624 Common Era. That was, if you convert it to the Hijr calendar, that is 17th of Ramadan, 2nd year after Hijr, right? That is in the Hijr calendar. You find it there. These are the instances concerning the months of sacred months of the Hijr calendar, right? Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, also the month of Ramadan will be coming to an end starting from 16th, 17th, 18th, anyone who spots the waning crescent, it marks the end of the month of Ramadan, right? You don't have to wait till you see another crescent, the different crescent in another month. When we say ahillat, you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 189. I can share the screen. I can share the screen. Let's see the verse, what it says. Chapter 2, verse 189. Yes, alunaka anil ahillat. Qul hiya mawaqitu lilnas wal hajj. They ask you about the crescents. When we say crescents, we are talking about the waxing crescent and the waning crescent. The waxing crescent is to show you the beginning of a month. The waning crescent is to tell you the ending of a month. So Shahru Ramadan, you use the waxing crescent to know the beginning of the month, the thing that the moon that appears like the letter C. When the month is coming to an end, you see it again like the letter C. So now we are in the month of Ramadan. Start looking up. You will see it between 16th, 17th, and 18th of this month. You should see it up there. When you are able to spot the waning crescent, that marks the end of your Ramadan the next day. Pay close attention. You are supposed to see it from 16th, 17th, 18th. The crescent will appear. You will see it. And that's to signify the ending of the month of Ramadan. The guidance is taken from Quran chapter 2, verse 189, as you see on the screen. They ask you about the what? The crescents, ahillat. Qul hiya mawaqitu linnas wal hajj. They are timing device, or they are timings for the people and the what? The pilgrimage, the hajj. So those ahillat you use to mark the beginning and the ending of something, right? So you are using it to mark the beginning of the month of Ramadan and then the ending. So we have the waxing crescent and the waning crescent. So if I should spot the waxing and the waning crescent, if I should spot it today, I'll end my Siyam tomorrow. If I should spot it tomorrow, I'll end my Siyam the following day. That is to mark the end of the month of Ramadan. Don't wait for the mushriks to do their somethings and they say they are searching for the moon somewhere in the sky. No. Quran chapter 17, verse 36. Do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. You'll be confused. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me give the chance for the question and answer. You have questions. I'm going to put down the link. I'm putting the link in the chat. This thing. You can. This is the link. You can join, or my correctional officer's phone number. You can call via WhatsApp, right? And I'll pick up the call, and then you contribute, right? You have any question concerning the lectures I did, anything you want to ask concerning what I spoke about, kindly ask your questions, and let's break it down, inshallah. So the link is there, right? If you want to join as a guest so that people will see you, fine, you click on it. If you don't want to join as a guest, you want to call my number, the WhatsApp number is below the screen. You can call that number and then you ask your question. So you're welcome with that. I've done 1 hour, 30 minutes. I have 30 minutes more to end the program. So you're welcome with your question. Kindly ask a question that you want, right? Yes. Yeah. So let me read some of the text and see what I've missing. Abdul Salam Ali says, babashuaib, you should try lecturing us about the compilation of the Quran from the Sunnah books. From my knowledge, the Quran is not complete for Sunnis. Yeah, it's not, according to them, the Quran is not complete. They even say there's the verse of stoning somebody to death, that the goat has eaten it. Or they didn't say sheep or goat. They say the goat or sheep has eaten it, right? Let me see if I have the hadith. I share it on the screen. Aha. They have it in, I share the hadith on the screen. This is the hadith. It is found in Sunan Ibn Majah. This hadith is Hasan. It means it's good. According to this hadith, it was narrated that Aisha said, right, the verse of stoning and of breastfeeding an adult 10 times was revealed, and the paper was with me under my pillow. When the messenger of Allah died, we were preoccupied with his death, and a tame sheep came in and ate it. So these verses were abrogated in recitation, but not ruling. Other hadiths established the number for fosterage to be 5. So you see the mess up. Sunan Ibn Majah, volume 3, book number 9, hadith number 1944. You see it here. Okay, good. So this is the mess. The Sunnis, they believe in these hadith books, and they believe the Quran is not full. So that I understand what you mean. Why is it not fitting to refer to God as sacred? What about the idea of God or name of God? God himself is Al-Quddus, right? Now, the choices of words used in the Quran, I was only talking in the context of the Quran. God uses the word Al-Quddus for himself. And then we have the word, if you break down the word sacred, we find the word in Arabic also for that. Even though I keep explaining, even though they can be synonymous, I don't choose to call God sacred. I call God holy, because he uses Al-Quddus for himself. If you understand what I mean. Let me break down this instance so that you understand better. If you go to Quran chapter 62 verse 1 and chapter 59 verse 23, he calls himself Al-Quddus, right? And the best, the straightforward literal meaning from Al-Quddus is the holy, right? The holy. So I'm saying, instead of using the sacred for God, God chose the preference of the word Quddus for himself, right? So it's not befitting to just say he's a sacred. No, he's holy. He deserves the title holy, right? Okay, just like also we have Ruh al-Qudus, because it has nothing to do with people assigning that divinity to it. No, God gave that divinity to himself, all to the Ruh al-Qudus. You understand? So that's what I meant by that. The link is there. I put the link earlier. Whoever wants to join, the link is there. You can join, you interact, ask your question, or you call. The WhatsApp number is below the page. You can ask a question pertaining whatever I've talked, right? Sayyid Ali says, Subhanallah said, the Quran is completed after 23 years, and the messenger delivered complete Quran. For you say the Quran was compiled from Sunnah is disbelief. You say the Quran is not complete, it's going against Allah and his messenger. Yeah, Sayyid Ali is only asking a question because based on the sectarians, they are the ones making such type of assumption, right? Brother O.P. Ibu, I think you missed the line. When I was giving all the verses in Surah At-Tawbah, I told you those are the timeline of the prophet. Those verses are in line with what happened at the time of the prophet, right? I'm not in support of those who are in charge of the Masjid al-Haram right now. I consider them mushriks. Yes, they are mushriks. They have the black stone there. They go to kiss and worship. People are worshiping the black stone there. That is idol worship. People go there, say they are stoning the devil. Look at the foolishness. You think the devil is so foolish, he'll go and sit in Saudi Arabia for you to come and stone him? So people have been put in the pagan type of religion there, and they are practicing a pagan type of religion there, right? But what I said earlier was in line with the context of chapter 9 at the time of the prophet, in the timeline of the prophet. That's what I meant. So sectarians today are pagans, yes. Blackstone was stolen from Mecca for 23 years. The Carmatians stole it January 1930. The stone was stolen and taken to the Hajar base, what is marine. This kind of stories, I don't, devote my time to it. Yeah, you are welcome. Adil Yusuf, you're welcome. Questions? Let me see. I'm reading comments. Sacred masjids are masjids forbidden for the disbelievers. Yes, exactly. That is the point. You got it. Momadi Pedro. Exactly. Sacred masjid is forbidden for disbelievers and the mushriks. Yes. Who wrote the Quran? He's asking who wrote the Quran, right? This is Jafar. This guy is a Sunni, by the way. Jafar Muhammad Salis is asking who wrote the Quran. Now, at the time of the Prophet, even the Kafirs, they know the Prophet Muhammad himself wrote the verses of the Quran. Let's go and see. Quran chapter 25, verse 5 to verse 6. And I'm going to share the screen and let's see, did the Prophet write the Quran at this time himself or not? Right? So Quran chapter 25. Let's start from verse 4, right? To verse 6. So I'm going to share the screen and let's see, did the Prophet write the verses of the Quran himself or not, right? Let's go and see. So Quran chapter 25, verse 4 to verse 6. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا إِفْكٌ إِفْتَرَاهُ. Then he says what? وَآنَاهُ عَلَيْهِ قَوْمٌ آخَرُونَ فَقَدْ جَاءُوا ظُلْمًا وَزُورًا. So those who disbelieve say, this is only a lie which he Muhammad alayhi salam has invented, and other people assisted him on it. As we all know, of course, Prophet Muhammad was the first to initiate the writing. That is why Quran chapter 96, verse 1 to verse 5, it says, Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq. Because you have to write something in order to Iqra, to read. If it was to recite, God will say, Atlu ma uhiya ilayka min rabbika. But instead, he told him, Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq. So in order to read something, you have to write it down to read, if it has to do with a scripture or a book, a manuscript, right? So now, instead of reading, God is now telling us. Allazi, in that verses, he says, Ikra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq, Ikra wa rabbuka al-akram, allazi allama bil kalam, allama al-insana ma lam yalam. So if Prophet Muhammad never knew how to read and write, God is now teaching him. That's why he told him Ikra. So now he can read. And who taught him to write? Allazi allama bil kalam. God taught him by the word kalam. That is the pen. So he wrote, Allama al-insana ma lam yalam. If Prophet Muhammad never knew how to read and write, God has now taught him. So let's see. Did he write the verses of the Quran or not? Quran chapter 25, verse 4 to verse 6. So verse 25. وَقَالُوا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ اكْتَتَبَهَا فَهِيَ تُمْلَى عَلَيْهِ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. This is what the Kafirs are saying at the time, because they can see him, they know him, they can see him. And they, the disbelievers, say, tales of the predecessors, that's tales of the past. Yes, the Quran has stories of the past. You take the stories of Musa, Isa, Nuh, Ibrahim, and so on and so forth. So they are tales of the past. However, they have a different understanding to what is going to be said right now. Which he, iktatabaha, means he wrote the verses of the Quran. So the word iktatabaha is to denote is to denote the feminine attribute of the verses. Whenever God mentioned the word ayat or ayah, it's a feminine noun, whether in singular or plural form. So to use the pronoun, God uses the word, a feminine pronoun, to attribute to the verses of the Quran. So here the disbelievers were saying iktatabaha means he wrote the verses. Then they now said, Fahiya tumula alayhi bukratan wa asila, they were dictated to him morning and evening, right? So now God is going to answer. God never said the disbelievers were lying. No, he never said they are liars. Listen what he said. Kul anzalahu allazi ya'lamu sirra fi samawati wal ard innahu kana ghafurur rahima. So say it has been revealed, because according to the disbelievers, they thought it was a human being teaching Muhammad. According to Quran chapter 16 verse 103, they thought a bashar was teaching Muhammad. They didn't know it was God actually revealing and teaching him. So now it says, say it has been revealed by the one who knows the secrets in the heavens and the earth, right? Indeed, he is forgiving and merciful. So these verses are clear and evident. People witness Muhammad writing the verses. They know he wrote it. You understand? But to them, they only thought Muhammad was being taught by a human being, or he's copying from somebody. So that is why God gave the answer that the book was revealed and Muhammad was writing the verses. Now, if you say your teacher cannot read and write, are you a fool? You the illiterate, you the ummiyuna. Chapter 62 verse 2, a messenger has been sent to go and teach you that you are yu'allimuhum al-kitaba wal hikmah. You claim they are ummiyuna. Now, if you say the teacher is also an illiterate, how can an illiterate teach illiterates how to write the Quran, and they can write it, but the teacher cannot read? You are saying the teacher cannot read and write? Where is the logic? Thrown out of the window. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqa al-insan allamahu al-bayan. So God taught the prophet everything concerning the Quran that he has to know. He wrote the Quran, the evidence are clear. But mushriks, they believe something else. Now, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Tawfiq Ibrahim. Hey, Shamo, Abdullah, Isa Abdullah Shamo, I see you. Nagan Kasalam. Musaddiq Jibril, your question is not clear enough. You said, can non-Muslim keep fasting? Can non-Muslim? Quran chapter 2 verse 183 says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba alal lazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. The abstinence, the siyam, is not for non-Muslims, it's not for mushriks, it's not for kafirs, it's not for anybody, it's for believers. So siyam is not just for everybody to do, it's for believers, right? So somebody says, how was the hadith written? Who were the main transmitters? Go to my YouTube channel, go and watch the history of the hadith and its authenticity, right? I have the video I did with Alaj Africa. It's on my YouTube channel. You should find it by now. It's in the hadith, sahih hadith section. You'll find the history there. I spoke about that. I did the topic. I gave every reference on how the hadith was transmitted and written, right? So try to watch that lecture. You'll find the answer there. Yes. Balogun says that means we can go to Hajj within those 4 months. Yes, you can go. There's no restriction. And because of some people are traveling, that is why in Quran chapter 2, verse 184, that when it comes to the month of Ramadan, for those who are traveling and those who are sick, because God knows you travel. Some people will travel and go also. You can go to Hajj. But I would prefer the month of Ramadan, you actually dedicate Ramadan for the Siyam. Then the other months you can actually do. So that is why Quran chapter 2, verse 197 gives you the guideline that you can decide to obligate the Hajj for yourself in any of the months, right? Right. So you can go. There's no restriction. What am I missing here? Let me see. I think somebody sent me a message. Okay, I miss a lot of here. Muslima, I saw your message. He says, Salam. Given that the Hajj has become a sectarian ritual, is it even possible to perform Hajj? I will recommend any devout believer right now to perform Hajj in this manner, because I have had people who actually follow the Quran. They agree with me. If you go for Hajj right now, it's like a program. They will force you to do the mushrik concept of Hajj you are doing. I've had a couple of people who have been listening to my lectures. They decided to go for Hajj and they didn't like it. You understand? Because they will force you in a crowd, and the crowd is being pushed together, and you are forced to do certain things, right? And I would recommend you go in the months like Shawwal and Zulqa'dah. Don't go in the Zulhijjah itself. If you go in the months like Shawwal and Zulqa'dah, you join a group who are going to do the Umrah. Then you can have ease and do and practice it the way God wants it, right? And I'll be doing lectures on Hajj. I think my next lecture I will do a Hajj lecture, right? So I'll break down things where people can understand. But right now, I would have loved to go for Hajj, but I don't think it's a good setting right now for me to go, right? Because those in charge are mushriks. And when I say mushriks, they have joined the concept of hadith with Islam. So they try to indoctrinate people to do certain things which are not part of Islam entirely. So I would recommend that people will refrain. By the way, Hajj is not compulsory, right? Quran chapter 3, verse 97. God says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا is not compulsory, right? It's not an obligation. It's not farad. If you are willing, if you have the means to go, fine, you can go. But if there's certain things restricting you from that, I will actually advise you refrain till a better time. When you are able to go for Hajj, you go, right? So this is a reply to Sister Muslima. And then she said, since it involves giving thousands of pounds to the corrupt and despotic Saudi regime, how can it be halal to perform it in the current sectarian fashion filled with idol worship? I would advise not. The true Hajj mentioned in the Quran, please direct us to the verses. I will do the lectures on that, right? My next lecture will be dedicated to the Hajj, and then you'll get to know about that, inshallah. I see you sent some verses subsequently earlier. I didn't get the chance to check. I'll check, inshallah. Alasan Alidu says, please, I do not fast and I don't have anything to feed the miskin. So what should I do? It means you are more than the word poor if you are that kind of person. Right? When we say feed the miskin, it's not necessarily to go and buy food. Since you buy food for yourself, can't you use the same food and try to give some of your food to a miskin? The act is not being, you are not being taxed or you are not being forced. You remember, Siyam is for believers. If you are a true believer, you find a means to help other people. That is the concept. Islam is not only about rituals where you are doing things for God. You have to know how to be with humanity. The reason why God encourages you to feed the poor, feed the wayfarer, orphans, is for humanity as well. So being righteous is not only about doing rituals to God. You need to know how to help people when they are in need, right? If you say you don't have money to buy food and you do not fast, are you saying you don't eat yourself? In one day, don't you eat? You don't get food from anybody, right? So if somebody gives you two balls of two shinkafa or two zafi, or to give you two balls of cake, can't you give another poor person one? You understand? This is the logic behind it. It's not a must to take money to say you are going to buy food. No, it is the understanding that you have concerning your piousness to God that matters. Sahid said, unfortunately, Mecca authority will not allow Hajj to be done after their assigned date. How can you do your own Hajj without getting in trouble? I will advise if you try to do Umrah, right? Because Quran chapter 2 verse 196 encourages you to do both the Umrah and the Hajj. If you get the chance to go and do the Umrah, I think you will get the chance to do, I'll be explaining about Hajj. So you're going to know, Hajj is simple according to the Quran. You need places like the Kaaba, the Safa wal Marwa, the Arafat, right? And then the Mashar al-Haram, that is Muzdalifah, that's it. Those are the places you need, right? And then you visit the Kaaba, you see inside of it, that's it. So there's no too much things you need to do. According to the Quran, nothing like kissing the black stone, nothing like going to stone the devil. You understand? Those things are all external, not from the Quran. Yeah, Salam Abdul Razak Maro, you're welcome. What do you think about the claim that the Prophet was from Petra? No, he was not. Says the house from Ibrahim alayhi salam was made a wall and have fruits. You don't see any wall and fruits in Mecca. I think people, you are reading too much meanings into the videos people make. They will confuse you big time. Let the Quran speak to you. What do you mean walls and what do you mean fruits? Look, Quran chapter 14 verse 37. I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to elaborate on something people don't pay attention, right? Quran chapter 14 verse 37. And I'm sharing the screen. In Quran chapter 14 verse 37, Abraham was making a supplication. He said what? Our Lord, indeed I have settled some of my offspring in a valley without planting. In a valley without planting, near your what? Sacred house. Near your sacred house, our Lord, so that they may establish the salat, so make the minds of the what? The people incline to them and provide them with fruits. Perhaps they will be thankful. So at the time Abraham put his family, there is no planting, but he made a supplication that God should provide them with athamarati, right? And then when we say athamarati, it doesn't only mean fruits like apple and other stuff. Fruits can be even from how to prosper and get a lot of things that will make you prosper, right? So that they will be thankful. So I don't know where people are getting other understanding, from. So anyways, I'm bringing the topic to an end soon. I don't want to stay too much, right? Yeah, if you are not well, let's say if you are sick, if you are sick, you are exempted. Quran chapter 2 verse 184. I did a lecture on it about 2 weeks ago. There's a lecture I did on Ramadan. If you are sick, there's no burden on you, right? You are sick. You didn't cause the sickness to be on you. You are exempted. It is for people who are well and capable to do it, right? The main aspect of Islam is based on you sincerely devoting yourself to God and then establishing the salat and the zakat. That is the main foundation of Islam in Quran chapter 98 verse 5. What we call Siyam, Hajj, and other things, they are just extra. They are like bonus to your faith. If you don't do Hajj, you are not going to hell. If you don't do Siyam, you are not going to hell. What the most important thing about Islam is sincerely devoting your worship, your service to God, and then establishing the salat, and then giving the zakat. These three, that is what God has mandated you over. Quran chapter 98, verse 5. But other things, you understand, they are voluntary. Kindly quote us a verse where God said, God instructed Abraham to sacrifice his son. Your question is wrong, and what you are saying is very dangerous. Quran chapter 7, verse 33. It is haram to do that. To say what you do not know about God is haram. You say, why Allah instruct Abraham to sacrifice his son? Kindly give me a verse where God instruct Abraham to sacrifice his son. Choice of words are dangerous, and be careful with the words you use. Sophia says the Saudi wants vaccine and this is not good. Well, then you stay away from it. Adam Fofana says 2 years ago I fasted for 13 days. I couldn't continue because of ulcer. I was taken to the hospital. I've been afraid to fast. It was a terrible experience. What should I do? There's no burden on you. No, you are sick. If you are sick, then a number of other days, but since you are sick, you can't do that. So our advice, you do some voluntarily charity works. You feed poor people so that you also get the blessing of the month. That is enough, right? There are many dates tree in Mecca, and it's surrounding those are also fruits. Yes, it is. The kinwan, that is they call it tamar. Quran calls it kinwan. Quran chapter 6, verse 99. The dates, the fruit itself. Quran calls it kinwan. They call it tamar. Yusuf Jamiu says, do we have a day for Laylatul Qadr in Islam? A day. Laylatul Qadr happened at the time of the Prophet, right? There is nothing like, oh, God says you should look for Laylatul Qadr in the night, in the month of Ramadan, something special is coming. No such thing. It's the sectarians lying to you, right? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Baba Seidu. Thank you. Mr. Safia, they are lying to you. That is not the grave of Ibrahim. These people are lying to you. They tell you Prophet Muhammad's grave is here, this guy's grave is there, Prophet Shuaib is here. They are all lying to you to get your money. Stop paying attention to those lies, okay? I'll be doing a lecture on Hajj next week, inshallah. So please stop with the question about Hajj. Please. The topic of today was about sacred months. I don't see anybody asking me question based on the lectures I did. You guys are focused about Hajj. That's off topic. I'll be talking about that next week, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I have to bring the topic to an end. I was hoping somebody will have a question to ask concerning the Ashurul Hurum. Muslima, I've already answered that in the lecture. If you just watch the playback, I've answered that already. I don't want to repeat myself. I did a lecture. It's a full lecture. I took my time, explain everything. So when you watch, you get to understand. No, they are not the same. They are not the same. If you watch the lecture, you get they are not the same as the ones the hadith people give you. No, they are not. So you kindly watch the playback. When I'm done, watch it. You get the answer there. Adel Yusuf says, your analysis of the sacred month was very good. I can't think of a question. You were very clear. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Natalia says, your lecture was very clear, brother. MashaAllah. Tell us about the day of Arafah. It is man-made. I'll be speaking about that next week, right? I'll do Hajj topic next week. So we talk about Arafah. We talk about everything concerning Hajj. This is the new way I want to do the programs. I want to stick to a topic. I've got so many suggestions and advices from a lot of people. I want to put that into consideration, right? I focus on the lecture, give you the lecture at hand. When I'm done, you ask me questions pertaining to the lecture so that we move on to the next discussion. If always everything becomes jumbles of information, you confuse people. Every new person watching the program will be confused. So let's base it one at a time, right? Then it will be helpful. So next week, let's make it an appointment, inshallah. I'll be here. I wanted to do 2 hours. I don't want to go more than that. Because if I give room for more questions to come in, oh my God, my life will be a YouTube person, right? So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate your presence. I don't want to be exhausted. I need energy for tomorrow. We talk about Hajj next week, inshallah. But before then, I'll be on maybe TikTok next week, Thursday. Then I'll try to be on Facebook, YouTube again on Saturday, inshallah. By that time, maybe Ramadan has ended, and we keep in touch. So for those who are doing the Siyam, I say look out for the crescent, the waning crescent. It should be out the night of 16th, the night of 17th, and 18th. If you see it, that will mark the end of the Ramadan for you, right? So thank you very much. Salis Jimmy Naganka, thank you. Thank you, Baba Saidu, I see you. Thank you very much, Saeed, Ali, Sister Natalia, thank you all. I appreciate Eid Mubarak, it means blessed Eid, festive. When you say feast or festival, right? It's Eid. So Eid Mubarak, somebody just wish you Eid. Wishing is no problem, but there's nothing like Salatul Eid in the Quran. It doesn't exist, right? There's nothing like Salatul Eid. It's not part of Islam. It's not even in the Quran, right? The sectarians will tell you it's a nafila. If it's a nafila, why force people? So put it aside. It's not part of Islam. Just have the peace in your life and have an easy life to live. Stop burdening yourself with what scholars tell you. You stress up yourself. Quran chapter 22, verse 78. Huwa ajitabakum. He's the one who has chosen you and has not placed any difficulty upon you in the religion. So be mindful. So thank you a lot, ladies and gentlemen. We meet again, inshallah, next week. I need to take my medication. Luckily, my voice wasn't blocked today. I was able to do so. I need to take my medication before it gets blocked. So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we keep in touch. Thank you for those who are here, those who are not here. I know you watch later. I appreciate your support. Your presence is helpful for me, and it keeps me going. I appreciate that very, 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 very much. And let's make it an appointment again next week, inshallah. And we keep in touch. Thank you very much. And this is the Correctional Officer page. I'm out.
His name is babashuaib. So babashuaib is originally from Ghana. He is now based in Europe. He's a Quranic researcher and a critical thinker based on religion who is a Muslim. He does online lectures based on the guidance of the Quran alone on platforms such as Facebook and YouTube and recently TikTok. He has a background in MSA and Classical Arabic, and he has translated the Great Quran with transliteration 2021 edition and is the author of Refer to the Quran Volume 1. Brother.